Morning children, and welcome back to the digital classroom of Vikram Juneja. In my previous videos, I had taught you Act 1, Scene 1 and Scene 2 of The Merchant of Venice. In today's video, we are going to deal with Act 1, Scene 3 of The Merchant of Venice, which is the final scene of the first act. Let me explain it to you. Now, this scene takes place in Venice, in a street in Venice, where, of course, Bassanio has gone to SHYLOCK to ask for 3,000 ducats. The reason is because he has to go to Belmont to woo Portia, and he needs money. And as he has been directed by Antonio, that he can go to the country Venice and actually check out with the people around. Out of his credit or out of his credibility, the people will lend him money, and it's a huge sum. And Bassanio knows that if he has to actually have this amount, he will have it from somebody who is very rich, like SHYLOCK, a money lender. So let's see. The scene takes place where Bassanio is with SHYLOCK. SHYLOCK says 3,000 ducats. Well, yes, 3,000 ducats. A. Bassanio says, A, sir, for 3 months. Yes, sir, for 3 months. SHYLOCK says, for 3 months. Well, now here SHYLOCK is thinking. SHYLOCK is trying to actually make up a plan, okay, wherein he is going to trap Antonio. He has understood that Bassanio has come to fall in the trap, and SHYLOCK will leave no stone unturned to see to it that Bassanio falls in this trap, and Antonio also falls in this trap. So SHYLOCK says for 3 months. Well, for 3 months. A. Bassanio says, yes, for the which, as I told you, Antonio shall be bound. He says, yes, sir. And as I have told you, Antonio will be the guarantor of the loan. SHYLOCK says, Antonio shall become bound. Well, Antonio, wow, is he going to be bound for that money? Yes. Bassanio says, may you steed me? Will you pleasure me? Shall I know your answer? Can you help me out? Will you agree to the loan? Can I hear your answer? To which SHYLOCK says, 3,000 ducats for 3 months and Antonio bound. SHYLOCK repeats it. Now, this repetition is basically wherein SHYLOCK is thinking as to how he has to trap Antonio. So he says 3,000 ducats for 3 months and Antonio will be bound to guarantee the loan. Bassanio says, your answer to that. What is your answer to that offer? SHYLOCK says, Antonio is a good man. Okay. Bassanio says, have you heard any imputation to the contrary? Means, have you heard anyone say otherwise about him? SHYLOCK says, oh, no. My meaning in saying that he is a good man is to have you understand me that he is sufficient, yet his means are in supposition. He hath an argosy bound to Tripolis, another to Indies, I understand moreover upon the Rialto. He hath third at Mexico, a fourth for England, and other ventures he hath squandered abroad. But ships are but boats, sailors but men. There be land rats and water rats, water thieves and land thieves, I mean pirates. And then there is perils of water, winds and rocks. The man is notwithstanding sufficient. So basically what SHYLOCK is trying to say is he says, no, not at all. I haven't said that. I haven't said that I have heard anything against Antonio till now. I just meant to suggest that he is a sufficient guarantor for the loan, but his wealth isn't certain at this moment because the ships are abroad. There is one ship which is bound to Tripolis. There's another one which has gone to West Indies, to Indies. There's the third one which has gone to Mexico. Okay, upon the Rialto, means upon the Venetian Stock Exchange, he has got to understand that he has his third ship which has gone to Mexico. His fourth ship is bound to England, and there are other ventures which he has invested his money in abroad. And he says ships are but woods and sailors are just men. There are rats on the land and the sea, the thieves on land and sea, including pirates, and then there are dangers of water, winds, rocks. So he says, but in spite of all these risks, he is still a sufficient guarantor. So Bassanio says, be assured you can be sure of that. That's what he means. SHYLOCK says, I'll be assured I may, and that I may be assured I'll be think me, may I speak with Antonio? So SHYLOCK says, I'll be sure and I'll figure out how I can be completely sure if I can speak with Antonio. Bassanio says, if it pleases you to dine with us. So Bassanio offers to invite him. He invites him to dinner. Would you like to have dinner with Antonio and me? Shylock says, yes, to smell pork, to eat of the habitation which your prophet the Nazarite conjured the devil into. I'll buy with you, sell with you, talk with you, walk with you, and so following. But I'll not eat with you, drink with you, not pray with you. What news on the Rialto who has come here? Oh yes, he says, I would love to eat pork with you, the animal into which your Jesus exorcised the devil. He doesn't want to eat with the Christians. Okay, so he says, I'll buy with you, I'll sell with you, I can talk with you, I can walk with you, I can do anything except for eating with you or drinking with you or even playing with you. And then he says, what is the news on Rialto? What's the news on the Venetian Stock Exchange? Who is the man coming here? Then comes Antonio. Bassanio says, this is Signor Antonio. This is Mr. Antonio. Shylock speaks aside. He speaks a soliloquy. Okay, how like a fawning publican he looks. I hate him for he is a Christian, but more for that in low simplicity he lends out money gratis and brings down the rate of interest here with us in Venice. If I can catch him once upon the hip, I'll feed fat the ancient grudge. I bear him. He hates our sacred nation and he rails even there where merchants most do congregate. Oh, on me, my bargains and my well-won thrift, which he calls in trust. Cursed be my tribe if I forgive him. So Shylock speaks this line to himself. That's why it's a soliloquy. He says he looks like someone who wants to take my money, but then ask me for a favor. He says, I hate Antonio because he's a Christian. But more than that, I hate him because he lends money without charging interest, which forces me to lower down the interest rate, okay, that I loan at. If I get the better of him just once, I'll satisfy my old grudge against him. He says he hates us Jews and he speaks badly of me, my bargains and my hard-won money in the company of other merchants talking about interest. May my Jewish tribe be cursed if I ever forgive this man Antonio. So when Bassanio finds Shylock engrossed in his thoughts, Bassanio says, Shylock, do you hear? Shylock, are you listening? To which Shylock replies, I am debating of my present store, and by the near guess of my memory, I cannot instantly raise up the gross or full 3,000 ducats. What of that? Tubal, a wealthy Hebrew of my tribe, will furnish me. But soft, how many months do you desire? Then he speaks to Antonio. He says, rest you fair, good Signor. Your worship was the last man in our mouths. So Shylock says, I was thinking about how much money I have right now, and as best as I can remember, I cannot raise the gross sum of 3,000 ducats right now. But that doesn't matter. Tubal, a wealthy Jew of my tribe, will supply the rest of the money. But wait, how many months do you want that money for? Then he turns to Antonio and he says, hello, good sir, we were just talking about you. Antonio says, Shylock, albeit I neither lend nor borrow by taking nor by giving of excess, yet to supply the ripe wants of my friend, I'll break a custom. Then he turns to Bassanio. Is he yet possessed how much he would? Antonio says to Shylock, Shylock, I normally don't lend or borrow money with interest, but in order to help my needy friend, I'll break my custom. Then he turns to Bassanio and says, does he know how much money you want yet? Shylock says, 3,000 ducats. He says, yes, 3,000 ducats. Antonio says, and for 3 months. Shylock says, I forgot 3 months. To Bassanio, you told me so. And then he says to Antonio, well then, you're born and let me see, but hear you. Methought you said you neither lend nor borrow upon advantage. So he said, yes, I had forgotten 3 months. Then he says to Bassanio, you told me that. Then he turns to Antonio and says, well then, and you will be the guarantor on behalf of Bassanio? Let's see, but listen, I thought you said you don't lend or borrow money with interest. Antonio says, I do never use it. I never do. Shylock says, when Jacob grazed his uncle Laban's sheep, this Jacob from our holy Abraham was, as his wise mother wrought in his behalf, the third possessor. He was the third. So Shylock refers to the Bible. He says in the Bible, when Jacob looked after his uncle Laban's sheep, this is the Jacob who was descended from our holy ancestor Abraham, and his wise mother made him his father's heir to the property, so that he was the third to possess God's promise. Antonio says, and what of him? Did he take in trust? And why are you talking about him, Shylock? What about him? Did he charge in trust? Shylock says, no, not take in trust, not as you would say directly in trust. Mark what Jacob did when Laban and himself were compromised, that all the earlings which were streaked and pied should fall as Jacob's hire, the ewes being rank in the end of autumn turned to the rams. And when the work of the generation was between these woolly breeders, in the act, the skillful shepherd peeled me certain vans, and in doing of the deed of kind, he stuck them up before the fulsome ewes, who then conceiving did in weaning time fall party-colored lambs, and those were Jacob's. This was the way to thrive, and he was blessed, and thrift is blessing if men steal, if it not. So Shylock is trying to actually justify his stance by saying, no, he didn't. He didn't exactly charge in trust as you would say, but listen to what Jacob did. Okay, when he and Laban agreed that all the streaked and spotted sheep would be his, it was the end of autumn, and so the sheep was starting to mate. And when the woolly sheep were starting to couple up together to breed, the skillful shepherd Jacob put some dappled sticks in front of the ewes while they were conceiving. When they gave birth, they produced streaked and spotted lambs, and those became Jacob's. Jacob became very prosperous in this way, and he was blessed. Profit is a blessing if it's not obtained by stealing. Antonio says, this was a venture, sir, that Jacob served for, a thing not in his power to bring to pass, but swayed and fashioned by the hand of heaven. Was this inserted to make interest good, or is your gold and silver ewes and rams? So Antonio replies to Shylock by saying, but what was? That was a thing that wasn't in Jacob's power to bring about. It happened through the hand of God. Did you tell this story to imply that it is good to charge interest? Is your gold and silver like a bunch of ewes and rams? Shylock says, I cannot tell. I make it breed as fast, but note me sinner. Now he says, maybe I make the money multiply as fast as sheep. But listen, sir, Antonio says, mark you this, Bassanio. The devil can cite scriptures for his purpose. An evil soul producing holy witness is like a villain with a smiling cheek, a goodly apple rotten at heart. Oh, what a goodly outside falsehood hath. He says, take note, Bassanio, even the devil can quote Bible for his own purpose. An evil soul quoting holy words is like a villain who pretends to be good, a good-looking apple with a rotten core. What a good appearance falsehood can have. Now, Shylock says, 3,000 ducats is a good round sum. 3 months from 12, then let me see the rate. So he says 3,000 ducats, that's a good round number. 3 months out of 12 that make up the year. Then let me see the rate of interest. Antonio says, well, Shylock, shall we be beholding to you? So he says, well, Shylock, will we be in your debt? Shylock says, Senor Antonio, many a time and oft in the Rialto, you have rated me about my monies and my essences. Still have I borne it with a patient shrug, for sufferance is the badge of all our tribe. You call me misbeliever, cutthroat dog, and spat on my Jewish gabardine, and all for the use of which is mine own. Well, then it now appears you need my help. Go to then, you come to me and you say, Shylock, we would have money. You say so, you that did void your doom upon my beard and foot me as you spurn a stranger cur over your threshold, money is your suit. So he says, sir, many a time you have criticized me about my money and habit of charging interest in the Rialto. I have endured it all with patience and a shrug, because we Jews are known for our ability to endure. You say I believe in wrong religion, call me a cutthroat dog and spit on my Jewish clothing, all because I use my own money to make profit, and now it appears that you need help. Okay, then you come to me and say, Shylock, I need money. Okay, money is your request right now. What should I say to you? Should I not say, hath a dog money? Is it possible a cur can lend 3,000 ducats? Or shall I bend low and in a bondsman key with bated breath and whispering humbleness say this? Fair sir, you spat on me on Wednesday last, you spurned me on such a day another time, you call me dog. And for these courtesies, I'll lend you thus much monies. So he says, or sir, should I now bend? Shouldn't I? What should I say to you? Shouldn't I say, does a dog have money? Is it possible for a dog to lend you 3,000 ducats? Or should I get to bend to my knees and with bated breath humbly whisper, fair sir, you spat me on last on Wednesday, you spurned me then another time, you called me a dog, and for all these courtesies you have shown to me, I'll gladly lend you this much money. Antonio says, I am as like to call thee so again, to spat on thee again, to spurn thee too. And if you will, thou wilt lend this money, lend it not as to thy friends. For when did friendship take a breed of barren metal of his friend? But lend it rather to thine enemy, who if he breaks, thou mayest with better face exact the penalty. So he says, I'm likely to call you such names again. I'm likely to spit on your gabardine again. I am likely to spurn you again. If you decide to lend this money, Shylock, do not do it as if we are friends. After all, when have the friends ever charged each other in trust? Lend me the money as your enemy, and if I break my part of the agreement, you can more happily punish me. Shylock says, why, look how you storm. I would be friends with you and have your love. Forget the shames that you have stained me with. Supply your present wants and take no doit of essence for my monies, and you will not hear me. This is kind I offer. So he says, Antonio, why, look at your temperament, look at your temper. I would be friends with you and have your affection. Forget about how you have shamed me. Lend you what you need and take no interest, but you won't listen to me. I'm giving you a kind offer. Bassanio says, this was kindness. That would be kind. Shylock says, this kindness will I show. Go with me to a notary, seal me there your single bond in a merry spot. If you repay me not on such a day, in such a place, such sum or sums as are expressed in the condition, let the forfeit be nominated for an equal pound of your fair flesh, to be cut off and taken in what part of your body pleaseth me. So he says, I'll show you this kindness, Antonio. Go with me to a notary and sign me an agreement. If you do not repay me what we have agreed upon, the amount of money on the agreed upon day in the agreed upon place, you will forfeit to me 1 pound of your fair flesh to be cut off from whatever part of your body I choose. Okay, this is the way he trapped Antonio. Antonio says, content in faith, I'll seal to such a bond and say there's much kindness in the Jew. So he said, sure, why not, Shylock? I'll agree to such a deal and I'll admit there is much kindness in the Jews. Bassanio says, you shall not seal to such a bond for me. I'll rather dwell in my necessity. Now, Bassanio feels worried. He's able to understand the trap being laid by Shylock. He says, he says to Antonio, I won't let you agree to such a deal on my behalf. I would rather deal with my poverty. Antonio says, why? Fear not, man. I'll not forfeit it. Forfeit it within these 2 months. That is a month before this bond expires. I do expect return of three times the value of this bond. So he says, don't worry, man, I won't have to give up on the pound of flesh. I expect to make 9 times the amount of this contract, that is 27,000 ducats, within these next 2 months. And that's a month before I have to pay him back. Shylock says, oh, Father Abraham, what these Christians are, whose own hard dealings teaches them suspect the thoughts of others. Pray you tell me this, if he should break this day, what should I gain by the exaction of the forfeiture? And he looks up in the heaven, Shylock. He says, oh, Father Abraham, what strange people these Christians are. They suspect the worst in the others because of their own treachery or their own trickery. Please tell me this, if he fails to pay me back in time, what would I gain by taking a pound of his flesh? A pound of man's flesh taken from a man is not so estimable, profitable neither, as flesh of muttons, beefs or goats. I say to buy his favor, I extend this friendship. If he will take it, so. If not, adieu. And for my love, I pray you, wrong me not. Shylock further says, I am telling you. Okay, so he says a pound of flesh taken from a man is not worth very much and isn't as profitable as mutton, beef or goat flesh. So he says, I'm just telling you, I'm giving him this kind of an offer to be friendly with him. If he will accept the offer, good. If he doesn't, goodbye. And for this kindness which I'm showing, I expect him not to do me any wrong in future. Antonio says, yes, Shylock, I'll seal unto this bond. He says, yes, Shylock, I'll enter into this contract. Shylock says, then meet me forthwith at the notary's, give him direction for the merry bond, and I'll go and purse the ducats straight, see to my house left in the faithful guard of this an thrifty knave, and presently I'll be with you. He says, then meet me right away at the notary's office, explain to him this happy agreement which we are falling into, and I'll go immediately to gather up the ducats from my house, which I have left guarded by a careless clown. Okay, so then soon I'll meet you. Antonio says, hi thee, gentle Jew. Please take care, gentle Jew, and please hurry up with the things. Exit Shylock. The Hebrew will turn Christian, he grows kind. So what does he mean? He says that this Hebrew must be turning Christian because he's getting kinder. Bassanio says, I like not fair terms and villain's mind. I do not like fair terms when they are thought up by a villain's mind. So Bassanio is very much sure about the fact that Shylock is laying some kind of a trap here. Antonio says, come on, in this there can be no dismay. My ships come home a month before the day. So he says, come on, there's nothing bad about this. My ships will come home with the money a month before I have to pay him. So we do not have to worry about the bond. Even if he's laying any trap, we will not be caught in that kind of a trap. So we do not need to worry about it. And then they leave that place. So children, with this we come to the end of Act 1, Scene 3. Okay, I am going to attach 3 questions with this particular explanation. I would like you to go through these questions and please attempt these questions in your fair literature and English notebooks. Okay, in my next video, I'll be coming up with Act 2, Scene 1. Till then, goodbye, stay safe and stay healthy. God bless you all.